Hi, I'm the 13th Wolfman, and you know what? Today is bonus day. That's right, bonus day for the Romero films, the Dead series. So I've talked to you the last 6 days about all the George Romero films that are in the Living Dead series. Today I'm going to talk about the unofficial sequels and other movies that could belong to this, but the only thing that they'll have involved with them is George Romero. So, let's get on with it. First thing I'm going to talk about is the 1985 film Return of the Living Dead. Now, this technically could be an official sequel to Night of the Living Dead, because in 1968 John A. Russo wrote the screenplay for Night of the Living Dead. He turned around and years later wrote a book called Return of the Living Dead, in which this movie was actually based off of, and Dan O'Bannon wrote the screenplay for. So John A. Russo has his foot in the original film, so technically this could be an official sequel just to the first film. It could be. Like I said, Dan O'Bannon, he came up with the screenplay for the film from his book, from John A. Russo's book. So that's one. Now, we're going to jump forward 6 years, 5 years, and we're going to talk about Tom Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead. This was a great addition. I mean, okay, George Romero's really not involved in this again. Tom Savini is. Tom Savini wasn't involved with the original film because I believe in 1968 he was in Vietnam. But it was great. This new remake. This is one of the few remakes that really makes the original look. I mean, they both look really good, is what I'm trying to say. Tony Todd as Ben. No one had even heard of Tony Todd until this movie came out, and then a couple years later he was Candyman. So that was very cool. So this technically could be an official. Well, it is. It's an official remake, is what it really is. But it could be part of the. Now we leap forward even more years, and we get to the Dawn of the Dead remake. That's right. 2004. Zach. I keep on wanting to say Zach Wilde, but I know that's the guy from Ozzy, from the former Ozzy guitarist and Black Label Society. But Zack Snyder. Yeah. Zack Snyder came up with an updated version of Dawn of the Dead. It was a little more grittier than the original Dawn of the Dead, which has a few. I like Dawn of the Dead, the original, but in some cases it has a little too much comedic flair to it. This was a really, really good remake. And the amazing thing is, if you watch this movie, instead of it being 5 people stuck in a mall, it's somewhere like 8 or 11, somewhere there. It's a bigger number. And one of them is this real chubby woman. That real chubby woman who gets her eye taken out after she turns is a dude. Remember that every time you watch this movie. That is a dude. Yeah. Another thing that was very cool about this movie was the fact that the Asian guy that's a zombie outside the mall who's missing like an arm, that's real. They didn't put a green sleeve on him and erase his arm. He's missing his arms. And another person had like missing legs in this movie, and that was real. It was just cool that they can incorporate all that kind of stuff and make it look as good as it did. This movie looks incredible. I do love this movie. I love With the exception of the remake of Day of the Dead, I think all the Dead films I really, really like. So, with me saying that, in 2007, they did a remake of Day of the Dead. In that movie, well, in Dawn of the Dead, the remake had Ving Rhames. In Day of the Dead remake, it had Ving Rhames. Both movies had Ving Rhames. Both Ving Rhames characters are different characters. They're not the same character. That's the part that got a little confusing. The Day of the Dead remake sucks. It's that simple. It was a terrible film. Now, The Night, Dawn, and Day of the Dead are the only trilogy to ever be remade. Completely. How bizarre is that? Now you got, in 1985, Day of the Dead came out. The people that owned that film in 2007 or 2008 did a sequel called Day of the Dead Contagion. Okay, it is what it is. It's an unofficial sequel to the Romero film. And I really haven't seen it. I can't say how well it is or how well it isn't because, like I said, it's the one movie I've missed out on seeing. And then if we go back to 1978, this is where it gets a little crazy. Checking my time there. This is where it gets a little crazy. In 1978, Dawn of the Dead came out. When it was released overseas, Dario Argento was in a partnership with George Romero about distributing it overseas. Well, he recut the film, took all the comic stuff out, and he retitled the film Zombie. Okay, not so bad. Well, a year or two later, Lucio Fulci came up with the idea of making a sequel to that movie. So he made what was called, over in Italy, Zombie 2. Because the original Dawn of the Dead was called Zombie over there. But when they shipped the movie over here to the U.S., there was no Zombie original. It was known as Dawn of the Dead, so they called it Zombie, the first one, over here. So the first movie and the second movie called Zombie, made by Fulci, are the same movie. And it's technically an unofficial sequel to the Romero film. So that's it. That's the bonus day. That's all the unofficial sequels that I could think of. If I missed something, please inform me. I am the 13th Wolfman. I'm on the prowl.